After Effects is launching. Now if you want to just continue to do your Photoshop stuff or whatever while I do this, you'll have the video to go back to and reference later if you like. I'm going to choose a new project here. And under composition, I'm going to choose a new composition. And I'm just going to go with their standard, like NTSC DV widescreen aspect, like a standard 720 by 480. I'm going to keep it at about the 30 frames per second frame rate. This has got a 30-second duration. We're pretty good. Okay. Now my background color presently is black. I believe I can change that, go under layer.
To make it transparent on the bar.
My background color here is black. And under composition settings, composition settings, I can change that color to white, or as Mr. Ronaldo was saying, I can actually use a transparent grid also if I will, but I'm going to animate against this white, and we'll probably change that background color in a little bit. Okay, but what I did here is I launched After Effects. I chose under composition, I wanted a new composition. I went with one of their presets, which was an NTSC widescreen. That's just standard like American video aspect ratio and frame rate of about 720 by 480 and about 30 frames per second. Okay, so it's, what I'm saying is I'm working in sort of a really basic, just standard video format here. Okay, and you see over here in my project panel, I have just my composition. So the first thing I want to do is bring in a piece of art that I created. It's a little X-Wing fighter, and we're just going to move it through space. Okay, so the way you bring something is you can go into like File and choose Import. And you can bring in a file or multiple files or libraries or whatever, or if you don't want to monkey around with all that, you can just double tap the project pane and it will bring you up this finder. And so I have, in courses here, I have this X-Wing file. You see a little preview of it right there. My sort of X-Wing fighter that I'm going to fly through space. There's basically two different ways you can bring it in. You can bring it in as a footage, which means it will collapse all the layers and just treat it like a piece of art. Or you can bring this in as a composition of its own, meaning that it will come in with all of its layers and everything in existence. Okay, so then you can animate different parts of it on different layers and stuff like that. We're not going to do that today. We can do that probably next time, but I'm just going to bring this in as footage right now. And it says, do you want to merge these layers? Because my X-Wing file has multiple layers, do you want to merge them or do you want to choose particular layers? I'm just going to have it merge all the layers and just bring in my X-Wing as sort of one piece of art. Okay, now you see my X-Wing over here, my X-Wing Adobe Illustrator file is right there. Here's a little preview of it. Now I can drag it right out to the stage, or I can drag it down into my layers panel, either way, or I believe I can maybe even double tap it and it will just appear over here. But I like to just click it and drag it down into my layer. So now you see I have my X-Wing fighter art file, and I can probably throw this actual file up on the Moodle for you guys as well, so if you want to replicate this video and like exact, but you can throw in any piece of art, vector or photographic in here and do the same things that I'm about to do. So one key thing, once you've got some art in there you want to work with, if you toggle this down, you see a little transform set here. If you toggle those down, here's the main ways that you can apply transformations to a piece of art in After Effects. And I know you can't see this super well on that screen right now. Let me actually kill the rest of the light so you guys might be able to see what that screen says. Alright, I hope you can read it a little bit better now. Probably not. But anyway, you'll have the video to reference to. The first thing I'm going to do is actually change the rotation of this thing, because it's a little bit askew in my opinion. So I've got these little, if I just hover over these little digits down here, I can adjust the rotation of my X-Wing. All right, again, I just toggled down the little triangle on the layer, and then I toggled down my transform triangle, I went to the rotation, and you can swipe across these numbers to move them, you can key in your own numbers, you can grab the, like the corner points up here, and you can move things around. There's all different ways to do some of these rotations and things like that. There's also like rotate tools and stuff up here, okay? But I like to just sort of scrub over the numbers and it will just sort of rotate it in real time. Now another thing I need to deal with here is the scale of this is really too large. It's at 100%. I'm just going to type in like 20%. Now my X-wing's a bit too small, so I'm actually just going to scrub it up on the numbers down here till I've got it kind of, that's about how I want it there. All right, so I've changed its rotation, I've changed its scale. Now let's change the position of it. And again, you can sort of scrub on these numbers and move things around, up and down, back and forth. Or you can just actually click because we're on the move tool, presently we're on the selection tool, you can just click it and move it. And I'm going to move it right off the stage so that it disappears off to the left. All right? So we've done some rotation, we've done some scaling, we've done some positioning. The anchor point I don't use a lot. That has to do with swiveling things on corners and stuff. You can experiment with it. And the opacity will actually just make things more or less opaque, right? It will blend in transparency. But what I really want to do is I want my X-wing to start off the screen, and then if I scrub out of my timeline at about 4 seconds, I want it to move from 0 seconds to 4 seconds across this screen. And the way I do an animation is I go to my position, because it's the position I'm changing. I'm changing the position from off left to off right. I click the little stopwatch to say I'm about to animate something. I make sure that my marker is where I want it to be. And then I just drag the X-wing across like that. Now one thing went wrong in that I didn't get myself, and see how it created a new keyframe? I forgot to do my initial keyframe. What I can do is just scrub back in time, click and drag it back to where it was, right? So now what I'm saying is at this point in time, have it here. At this point in time, have it there. And if I scrub across the timeline, you'll see it move across the keyframes of the timeline. My X-wing fighter flies across like that. Now you can do what's called like a preview. Up here in the preview menu, you can say to play it, and it will load it, and then it will show X-wing flies over the course of 4 seconds. It's just there. So the basic idea to move something is get it in, position it where you want, click on the stopwatch on the position, move your playhead to a new point in time, and then actually move the object. I say that's pretty cool, but what if it needs to dodge in and out of clouds and things? You see my motion path here? It's a Bezier path, like what we've been creating in vector and stuff. And you can grab the little handles and you can actually change the motion path itself once you've got it in time. Now if I scrub back and forth, you'll see my X-wing sort of zooms down and back up, right? So now I can preview that again. Comes in, swoops down, dips back up. And maybe you say, oh, that took too long. It shouldn't be over 4 seconds. It should be over 2 seconds. Just grab your keyframe and drag it back in time, and the whole thing will happen faster. Same exact motion over a shorter period of time. Yeah, now it's really moving, right? I can do the same thing here. I can say, oh, it starts too early. I want it to start later. Again, I can preview it. It waits a half a tick, then it flies through. Everyone get that basic idea? Once you've got your keyframes in place down here on the timeline, you can move them. You can say, well, what if I want this thing to fly backward? Easy. Grab that keyframe where it's positioned over here, put it at the start. Whoops, I dragged it too far. Put it at the start, grab the one where it's over here, and put it at the end. Now it flies backward. See what happened? Basically, once you've got your keyframes, you can reposition them in the timeline sort of however you want. My X-wing fighter flies through the air. Anybody with questions? That's a real once-over on how to set up a quick file, throw a piece of art on it, and move it across the artboard. No questions? Well, you'll have the video if you want to go back and try it yourself. One other thing you can do is select your keyframes just by clicking and dragging a marquee over them. And then if you control click on it, Sorry, I've got to be actually on the keyframe. It will give you a keyframe assistant at the bottom, and you can set ease in, ease out, or easy ease. What that does is it's an animation technique that causes things to do what's called a ease in, ease out, and it just makes actually hit Control right click on the keyframe itself, and I get a keyframe assistant. And if you set your easy ease, it will just cause your motion to be less mechanical in nature when it's moving around. Let me show it to you with ease, and you probably won't see much of a difference, but it just creates a subtle little in and out effect where things just look less mechanical. Let's try it again. Slowly in, dip in the center, slow back out. It's just an animation technique that a lot of people find to be more visually appealing than a really mechanical straight left to right type of thing. So I'm going to save, close the video, and post the video for you. So you can go back and experiment with this on your own. X-wing flight.